Well, hey there, Warhammer fans. Luke here with a Vampire Counts and Warriors of Chaos battle report for you. 2,500 points. Now, I've been bit with a hobby bug recently. You might notice this because I've got a painted zombie dragon up there. If you've seen my last battle reports or any of them when I ran with them, there's always some gray piece of crap. Fully painted, baby. I sat down, painted them up, painted up 10 hex race out of the blue, started working on some old models, then Christmas rolled around, and I got some Dark Elves. Not enough to field the whole army yet. I'm hoping to sell my Bretonians and then use that money to keep adding to it. But I've just been rolling in the hobby. Haven't been playing a lot of games, unfortunately, but, it's Christmas. The Steam sale is on for PC gaming, so I've been doing a lot of PC gaming. But I've also been doing a ton of hobbies, so I don't feel that bad. I've got one foot still into Warhammer, listening to a lot of podcasts still, but it was time, and my buddy knocked on my door and said, let's go play a game. It's New Year's Eve, let's play a game down at Fantasy Flight, and I had a freshly painted zombie dragon, so I said, sure. Grabbed basically the same list I played like 2 games ago, and so it's very similar if you guys remember that one, but Zombie Dragon, here we go. So we go down to Fantasy Flight, and they've got like a brand new game center that serves beer and food. It's really nice. Pretty fantastic. So we had a nice game. We rolled up scenarios and got Dawn Attack. So now our deployment's going to have to be, you got to roll for each unit coming in. I didn't get too screwed by it at all, actually. Excuse me. So this is a picture after Vampire's deployment before Chaos, just to show what the board looked like. So from my last list, I basically swapped out a Karen Wraith out for a Spirit Host in. I think it'll be a little more helpful. So I've got the Spirit Host, I've got a long group of like 40 skeletons, maybe 45. Then I've got a group of 30 zombies, another group of 30 zombies with a level 1 Necro on the other side, 2 Fell Bats. I've got 5 Blood Knights with a level 2 Vampire BSB in there. He's got the Book of Archon and a 2-up rerollable armor save. So hopefully he can cast Van Helsing when he needs it, and maybe he'll get it. Then I've got another group of 30 zombies, 10 Hex Wraiths in 1 unit, a Terrorgeist, my level 1 Lord on the Zombie Dragon. Now, he's rocked out in kind of a defensive kit. He's got a Lance, so I've got to get the charge off, but he's got Night Shroud and the -1 from the Zombie Dragon. So you're -1 to hit him, and you lose all strength bonuses in your ASL. He's Quick Blood, but not Red Fury. So basically, he's still pretty killy, but a little more survivable to everything except shooting. And then on the right flank, I end up with 2 groups of dogs. So all my casters know Invocation of Nehek, and my level 2 BSB knows Van Hel. So he knows Van Hel's natively, and then he also has it from the book, which I hope to capitalize on. For the Warriors of Chaos deployment, he's got Khorne Warriors on the right here, a Nurgle Chariot, then a Hell Cannon in the back, 3 Skull Crushers, a Tzeentch Caster there, and then I'd mark them here as Nurgle Warriors. They're not. They're chosen. Those are Nurgle chosen. And they roll up for their blessing at the beginning of the game, and they get +1 toughness, which is what he always gets. But it just makes him even more rock hard. Excuse me. Then he's got his BSB in there. Nurgle BSB, super killy. Stomp your face into the ground. Basically, that's all you got to know about him. Then he's got a Nurgle Chariot. He has 5 dogs and a Nurgle Daemon Prince. And that Nurgle Daemon Prince is pretty kitted out. He's got Soul Feeder, he's got level 4 of Death. He's just going to give you a bad time all around. And that's his deployment. So we go to Vanguard movement. I ask him, hey, does that Daemon Prince have wings by any chance? Can I see them from there? He's like, I couldn't afford it. So yeah, buddy, I'm going to chaff him up. I actually have a chance at chaffing him up at least a little bit here. So my dogs go racing up to him. My Hex Race go racing up to the middle as well because they want to go through someone. So he does not roll a 6 and doesn't steal turn 1, so I go first. I move my Terrorgeist over just so I can get ready to go up and start screaming at him. Zombie Dragon also moves over there. I'm going to bring this whole force to bear on that Daemon Prince if I can. That's my initial battle plan. The hope is to chaff up his guys without getting really into combat with his Daemon Prince, and so I moved those 2 groups of dogs up to do just that. At this point, when I took the picture, I wasn't sure what I was going to do with my Hex Wraiths yet, which is why they haven't moved. On this flank, basically all the chaff just moves up slowly. I'm going to try to tie that up. I decide don't go forward with my Blood Knights yet. I don't want to go head into a group of Skull Crushers. Just not worth it. So I basically am going to throw my chaff at them, and then I do a Swift Reform and move the not the Blood Crushers, I move the Blood Knights around so that they can pick their fights later in the game. At this point, I decided what to do with my Hex Wraiths, and I moved them to the woods here. So now he's got a decently long charge if he wants to charge the Hex Wraiths. If he wants to charge any of the dogs, that's cool. He won't be able to overrun and clip my Hex Wraiths. And if he decides that he wants to go into the Hex Wraiths, that's fine, because he probably won't kill them all, and I've got the Terrorgeist and the Zombie Dragon with my Lord there to take care of them. So that'd be fine by me. We go to the Magic phase. It's 7 dice to 5. I get boosted Van Hels off from the BSB, and he looks at my spell cards and sees that I only have heal and that one spell. So he throws all his dice at it to dispel it, gets it. And I get a kind of shit-eating grin on my face because I've still got another Van Hels, and I cast it from the book. I can't bubble it like I tried, but I was able to basically get it off once, and I moved the zombie block forward. I figured it was better to move them forward and start chaffing up stuff than to actually keep correcting my Blood Knights. So those guys go forward, and yeah, they're going to get charged pretty quickly, but that's okay. Then I heal up like 5 zombies in that zombie group on the lower left there, because I actually cast more, but the Blood Knights were in the way, so I couldn't actually deploy them. Here's a picture of the end of the turn, and we're going to go to Chaos turn 1. And when the Blood God demands blood, you got to give it to him. And that's exactly what my opponent's going to do here. Look at this. Boom! Warriors. Chosen in the front, Chariot in the front, Skull Crushers in the flank. Those are some dead again zombies, man. It's over there. But when he did that, he was thinking, well, I got to throw the Skull Crushers into the flank to make sure that I get rid of those zombies. And I can't heal him back. But I'm actually pretty happy about that because he has to overrun with those Skull Crushers. So hopefully the Skull Crushers are going to block up his lines, and I can just kind of choose my chaffing going forward. Like, hopefully I'll be able to put zombies here, put the bats here, because his dudes are going to be in the way. So I'm kind of happy about that. Oh, and in the upper right here, you can see he's moving his Daemon Prince. He's trying to march him over. So he puts him down. I'm like, hey, did you roll for a march block test, buddy? And he rolls and fails the leadership. So he has to go back. And there in this picture, you can see the Daemon Prince laymated halfway. It's like the most useful thing that those dogs are going to do all game. I'm pretty happy about that. It doesn't do much, but it makes me feel good. On this side, you can see that his guys are coming through the gap between the forests, just so his chariot doesn't have to worry about dangerous terrain. And I've got a ton of chaff to feed him. His Zinchi caster moves up just to help support guys. And we go to the magic phase. It's 8 dice to 5. He throws 5 dice at Purple Sun, trying to land it on the Terrorgeist and go through the Hex Wraiths, but does not irresistible cast it, and I throw my Dispel Scroll. It's a win for him. I get it out early, but at least I didn't lose my Terrorgeist or some Hex Wraiths. Then he tries to Spirit Leech, I think, on like one of my casters or BSB, and I just dispelled it handily. We go to the shooting phase, and he takes aim at the Zombie Dragon, so the Terrorgeist, and lands direct hit, which probably didn't really matter that much, but just emotionally, the base was so big he could have scattered quite a bit and still been on him, but emotionally it was like, oh, of course you got a direct hit. And then he rolls. Thanks to you, the people who commented on my last Zombie Dragon report, who said that yes, both the rider and the model are hit, but only one of them is hit by like the Strength 10 multi-wounder. So we rolled, and it ended up being the Zombie Dragon, who took 6 wounds. Of course he rolled the max and kills the Zombie Dragon. I spent like a ton of hours painting up this new guy, and he dies turn 1 before he gets to do anything. So I gave my opponent the finger, and then we laughed about it. And it was a good thing I brought a vampire model just to be there, just in case the dragon got shot out from under him. And of course it happened. So my Lord shrugs off his Strength 5 hit with his ward save, and now it's kind of interesting because, yeah, I've lost my Zombie Dragon, but so I'm in an interesting spot where I have a Lance, so I'm only going to be Strength 5. I can't use that Lance running into combat. That's only if you're mounted. So, and I can't really hide my Vampire Lord here because I need him to be sharing his March Bubble. I've got a lot of points invested in Hex Race. I'd like them to be screaming through stuff and getting past the armor save and all that. So I've kind of, now it's interesting. I've got to play a game where I'm keeping him safe, but also not getting him into combat. His Strength 5 would work pretty well, just naturally against a lot of armies. But against Warriors of Chaos, that armor, no way, man. That's just going to ask for crumbling all day long. So now I've got to kind of play cat and mouse here with him. We'll see. I guess it'll be an interesting game, but I would have much rather had that Zombie Dragon. So, in close combat, exactly what you'd expect. He blows up and crumbles the hell out of the zombies, but he rolls a 7, which is just barely enough to get him past his Chosen, but not enough to get past the Chariot. Chosen reform as much as they can after combat reform, but now if you look at that, those Blood Knights have a nice little charge there, and it's blocking the chariot, and so I'm happy about that. Oh, his dogs charged mine, and it's a push, actually. I landed 2 wounds, he charged, landed 1, it's a push. So we're going to be stuck there for a little bit. So we get a Vampire turn 1. Yep, just as we thought. The Blood Knights go right into the flank, the Skull Crushers. That is a fight I do want to, that I want to do. I want Strength 7 on the charge. I want to go in, and I'm excited about that. And then hopefully, I can't tell. I didn't really think to look and measure because I had to. I was maximizing to the right as far as I could, keeping the most models in that I had to do. But I can't tell from this picture if I hit the Chosen first or if I hit his Chariot first on an overrun. But we'll find out. I moved the Fell Bats up as much as they can. They're not in the inspiring March bubble, so they can't really chaff up the Chosen too much. But at least in this position, his Chosen cannot get through that gap and get into my Blood Knights. That's nice. So if we do get stuck there, he's gonna have to deal with those guys first. His BSB could charge out on his own, but that's about it. The Hex Race don't have any targets that they can Soul Stride through, even though they are within the March bubble, so I just kind of free reform them and move them up so that the Daemon Prince is not in, would charge him in the front, and I'll be ready to charge or Soul Stride through on the next turn, or if I get Van Hells off. And the Terrorgeist is going to fly up, but we'll have a picture of that in a second. Over here, my Spirit Host makes a long charge into the Chariot because I want to try to either win combat and break him or tie him up. I don't want him charging into me, so that's nice. I think my zombies failed. This shows where the Terrorgeist goes up. Now, the Terrorgeist is kind of playing a little fast and loose here because I want to scream at him, but he could charge the dogs and then overrun to the Terrorgeist. So, yeah, it's a little dangerous. And what I'm hoping here is that I can either scream, I can scream now, but if I get Van Hells off, then I can reposition him and scream. So that's what I'm going to go for. And we go to the magic phase, and that's what happens. I throw 6 dice at bubble Van Hells because I want to move everyone, and I want those Blood Knights re-rolling. That goes off, Irresistible Force. The miscast is I only lose 1 level. I know it was a risk to miscast, to go with those Blood Knights, but I said screw it. You got to be bold. I only lose a level, so I lose Van Hells, but I still have it on the book. And that's it. So no real bad effects there. The Terrorgeist flies just where you can see him, and we go to in the shooting phase. He screams, does 4 wounds, and he's able to save 2 of them. So the Daemon Prince loses 2 wounds. I wanted to liquefy him completely, but that's a really tall order. So at least we're kind of like halfway there, pretty close. The other effects of the Van Hells bubble, the Fell Bats get to move up where I wanted them. The zombies really don't move, and then we get the Hex Race. That white arrow shows that the Hex Race tried. Like I thought I was going to be able to Soul Stride through them, but 8 inches was not enough to pop the guys out the other side. It just wasn't. I could have done the thing where they go in, they all reform, and they come back out, but even doing that and leaving them an inch away was tough because those bases are so long. So I just said, you know what, I'll just kind of leave them where they are. Now, if you look, you can see the round base of the Daemon Prince there. We have to put him on a square base because at this point, I had all the movement in the world and I was repositioning him just a little bit, trying to see if I could get through, and I put him back where I thought they were, where I thought the Daemon Prince, if he charges him, was going to be in the front. And what I should have done is etiquette. I should have just said, hey, do you agree here that if they're facing this way, you charge them in the front, or do you think it's the flank? Because I had all the movement in the world to just reposition them a little bit. But I didn't do that. I just looked at the base and assumed that my angle was right. And that's going to cause a little issue here in a minute, unfortunately. So just as a note, just always tell your opponent what you're going for, and like that, hey, do you agree this? Because it would have just saved some pain. Anyway, close combat, I don't do any wounds to him, but so he loses and holds. And I positioned myself in such a way that his warriors couldn't come in, but he does a combat reform into the woods so that they can come in on his next turn. Oh, I think I forgot to talk about the main combat. So the Blood Knights, he has a champion, which sucks. So he declares a challenge, and I accept my BSB because he's a little more survivable, just as killy. And I land 1 wound on him. He doesn't land any on me. And with the flank, basically because the challenge meant that I wasn't going to have any, there wasn't going to be any Blood Knights who got to fight. It was just my BSB. And he needed a 5 re-rollable to stick, and he made it. So unfortunately, we're locked in combat there. Now the downside of that is, the upside is he was not able to combat reform. He was able to make it just to stick, but not to combat reform. But we're locked in the challenge now, and I'm going to be strength 5 because I have a lance, so that's the downside. We go to Chaos turn 2, and this is where I said, yeah, he decides to charge with his Daemon Prince, and I was like, what do you mean the flank? And we look at it, I'm like, yep, that's the flank, from where you're looking and where, where the Daemon Prince is facing. It's a combination of just not asking and that base being round. So it's a friendly game. We're like, screw it. It doesn't really matter that much. And so I think I have that angle wrong of the dogs. I'm just going back to look. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that arrow's wrong there. It shows that he's charging through the dogs. He's not a flyer. That's just at the wrong, it should be more toward the top of the picture. Anyway, so he charges in the flank, and I'm actually not that worried about it because he has to go really well, and he doesn't have his thunder stomps against cavalry. So I hopefully can land a couple of wounds on him that he won't get his armor save, and he'll just have his 5-up ward, and hopefully I can bring something to come help. Like the Terrorgeist. He fails on his leadership check for the Hell Cannon because I think it was re-rollable and failed. I can't remember. No, his BSB is out of it, so he just kind of failed his leader 9. I had to charge the Spirit Host as the closest thing, but isn't going to make it. Otherwise, chaffed up by the bats, he just decides to back up a little bit and give himself a little more room, so he goes as much as he can on the backup. We go to Magic, it's 5 dice to 3. He goes for Purple Sun and throws all 5 dice and fails to cast. So I didn't even have to dispel. I felt very good about that because I was feeling kind of, I mean, no Lookout Sir standing right there. Not even a 4-up Lookout Sir because that's cavalry and my guy's infantry now. So that could have been bad, but thankfully the dice gods were on my side. I think I forgot to mark. Oh yeah, he didn't have shooting this phase because his Hell Cannon failed. So I land 1 wound on the Core Knights here, which is all that saved my Spirit Host. So he gets to stick around one more round. But it's static combat, is going to pop him eventually. My dogs eat his dogs, which is pretty nice. They reform, and he does, I think, maybe like 2 wounds to me. Maybe I think he does 2. And I land a couple of wounds on him. After he does his wound, he soul feeds up and gets 1 health back, but I think he's back down to 2 wounds taken because I hit him once or twice, maybe 3. I crumble by 3, but mitigate it because the BSB's nearby. So I've still got a bunch of guys, and I'm able to make the combat reform. So now he's in trouble because he wasn't able to wipe him out, and my Terrorgeist is right there, and he's still sticking on 2 or 3 wounds down. I don't remember the exact count. Can't see the die from here, but yeah, I feel that went pretty well. The big combat with the Blood Knights, it's another push. He doesn't land any wounds on me. I don't land any wounds on him, and now we're to the spot where it's I've got a 2-up re-rollable, and he's really only strength 5, but that Juggernaut is what's gonna, his dude on top's not that scary, but the Juggernaut gets so many attacks, and I'm just getting lucky with the armor saves. It's going to a 4-up every time rerollable, but man, I'm kind of antsy now that my BSB's locked in there. And he loses, and I think it's a 5 rerollable again, and he makes it, but he's not able to make the 5 rerollable to reform again. And this is what's going to happen. If you see him like this, he's not going to ever make that 5-up rerollable to reform, but he is going to make it to stick around. It's kind of funny. But unfortunately, I don't feel like I'm going to be able to charge my Lord in there because that's not good. So I've got to get lucky. We go to Vampire Counts, turn 3, baby. I don't want the Chosen coming forward, so what I do is I want to try to charge his little Tzeentch caster, so I have to charge the bats out first, and the only target I really want to charge him into is that Chariot. Yeah, they'll probably die, but now is the time to chaff him if I can. So the bats charge the Chariot, he holds. My zombies charge the Tzeentch caster, who runs an 11 away. So I'd fail, but my general's nearby, so they're able to redirect into the Chosen. And yes, the Chosen are going to make quick work of them, but hey, that's okay. That's all right. I had already moved my Necromancer out on the last turn, so it's just straight up zombies. So I'm fairly happy about movement there. The zombies make a large charge into the warriors, and I'm just trying to slow them all down. I mean, I know, like, at this point that everything over there is just going to be gone, but it's not that many points, and I'm holding them up. My dogs start coming around, and I make a mistake here. I didn't see it till after movement. I was like, oh, man, my dogs up there were totally in range to declare a charge on your caster and push him off the board. But it was after movement, and I thought it'd be kind of cheeky to do that. So next turn if he doesn't rally, or even if he does rally, he'll be able to go right into him. He won't be able to get out of the range of the dogs. I fly my Terrorgeist up here to scream at the ass of the Daemon Prince, who's locked in combat, and that is exactly what I do. Roll like an 11 and just liquefy him. I mean, he made a couple saves, but he was already down wounds. He did not make enough, and Daemon Prince is dead. I'm very happy about that. In close combat, he lands a wound on my BSB, and I land a wound on him. So combat is now basically down to the same 5 rerollable. I think it's 5 rerollable. I'm not calculating this in my mind at the time, but I've got a BSB and flank and all that. And he makes it again. Can you believe it? He makes it to stick, but again, not to reform. And we're still locked in that damn challenge with a bunch of useless Blood Knights here. And my Lord's standing there protected, but not able to help out. Oh, it's crazy. So, That's it there for close combat. With the zombies, he kills a hell of a lot of them, but they're still around, so he's going to have to kill them on his turn. So I'm liking that. And his chariot is only able to kill one of my bats. And I think I was going to crumble by 1, but it was mitigated by the BSB nearby. So I've still got 2 full wounds in there to slow him down. So I'm happy about that. Very, very happy about that. Take my reform on my Hex Wraith because they had not won combat, but the guy was gone, so you get your free reform. And that's basically it. On this flank, yeah, he kills the Spirit Host in combat res because it's like 27 total deaths to the zombies, but that's what we expect over there. Chaos turn 3, his Zinchi Caster does not rally, and that's the only movement he's got right now. Everything is locked down, so his guy goes within 1 inch of the board. So he's not off the board yet, but it's kind of moot because I'm just going to be able to declare charge them, chase him. There's no magic because all of his casters are fleeing or dead, and he goes to shoot with the Hell Cannon and gets a direct hit right on my Lord, and sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. Oh yeah, that's right, he did land. It was a second direct hit, and I ward saved it, so my Lord does not die, and I was actually able to armor save the Strength 5 portion that hit 1 Blood Knight. That was pretty great, so I could have gone way, way worse. In close combat up here, the chariot just finally gets the last of the bats, but that went really well for me. He reformed, he didn't really have look at that. He's got no good options for that chariot there. So that's basically it there. The Chosen and the BSB finish off the last of the zombies, and then they reform here just to face inside, but again, he's got some problems coming his way, but that's his reform. We go to Vampire Counts turn 4, and my dogs push the caster off the board. I soul stride. This is a picture before I did the movement, but I was able to soul stride through both groups, and I only did 3 wounds on that chariot. So I just didn't roll very good to wound, I guess. But the chariot's still alive, and it knocked off 3 of the Chosen, which is pretty good. My Terrorgeist, this first arrow shows where my Terrorgeist went during movement, and he was just going to scream into the combat and try to melt the Skull Crushers. I know that means that he's basically a big target for those Chosen, but I got to get my guys out of combat there. That's my fighting force. Then we go to the magic phase, and I was able to get Van Hels off from the book, and I threw 6 dice at it, got an Irresistible Force, so that meant the book burnt up, but I was able to move the Terrorgeist. And so I moved him, and so I could scream into combat. And, there's really just no way to save my Terrorgeist and make him useful here. And the reason I say that is because now I'm not really out of the charge arc, but as soon as he can't charge me now because there's a Skull Crusher there. But if I win combat, then he is going to be able to charge me because the Skull Crushers won't be there. And I won't be able to overrun the Blood Knights or anything like that because, I wouldn't want to overrun the Blood Knights, but if he hits that Terrorgeist, he's going to come right into my Blood Knights. I won't get to charge him, save for just a really bad roll. So I thought this was the best thing I could do, but I basically felt like my Terrorgeist was going to die either way. It might have been a better idea to leave the Terrorgeist at that first arrow, because then he wouldn't have been able to overrun into me, and maybe just reform, but yeah, I don't know. So anyway, that's what I did. We go to the shooting phase, and I scream and kill one Skull Crusher completely, put 2 wounds on the next. The other die is there, marking the fact that the champion is up to 2 wounds now from the challenge. So both guys only have 1 wound on him left. And we go to close combat. I am able to finish him off before he gets to go in the challenge, which then frees up my Blood Knights to kill the last of the Skull Crushers. And with the lore attribute from the Van Hels going off, my BSP had healed himself, and that's it for the end of my turn, at least for combat there. Here's a picture of what the end of turn looks like and what the board looks like. My skeletons are trying to get over there on the side. And we go to Chaos turn 4. So with the Skullcrusher's gone, like I said, he can charge in the Terrorgeist, and he does. It's kind of like this huge swing around, but he's able to get in no problem. And that's going to be it. And he's going to get, unless he rolls really poorly, that's a nice overrun into my Blood Knights. There's no magic. Go to shooting, and his Skull Cannon drifts off again, or his Hell Cannon drifts off again. And in close combat, yeah, he has his BSB has Flaming Body. So even though I rolled my regen saves before he told me that, and I made like two out of 3, yeah, he just blew him away. Overran, got into the Skull Crush or to the Blood Knights. So I've got a lot of armor, but he's tough 5, and now I'm strength 5 because I didn't get the charge off. So that kind of sucks. Kind of sucks a lot. But this is on his turn, which means we're going to fight on my turn, which means, hello, Hex Wraiths in the butt. And the good part about this is he can't move his BSB with a magical weapon to fight the Hex Wraiths because he can't make way. He's already in combat. His BSB is one of the models there is already touching one of the Blood Knights. So I've just got free reign in the back, and I'm happy about that. I kind of agonized about this, but I thought now was the time. I know it's dicey, but I charged with my Vampire Lord into the... what the hell? The chariot right there. So I guess I don't have an arrow showing that my dogs moved up, but what was going to happen is if he fled, he'd bounce through my dogs, then probably off the board. So he decided to even though it's only strike 5, let my Vampire Lord hit him, and then hopefully he can break and get away, or if he's really lucky, kill my Vampire Lord. Strike 5 versus his strike 5, we'll see. So that's basically it for movement there. I tried to charge these skeletons in because I wanted all that nice combat res in his flank. I needed a 9, and I just didn't get it. So they're basically stuck there. And now they're going to get charged in the flank by those Chaos Warriors, and that's fine. I like it. It's okay. That's just core points. And I don't think they're going to get through them by the end of the game. I could be wrong, but that was my thinking at the time. And then I moved my Necromancer up just so he's right out there and there's a chariot staring at him. But I moved him up so that he could be within 6 inches of healing Hex Wraiths back, depending on how the magic phase went. So we go to magic. I get Van Hels off from that Necro, and I was only able to bring back 1 Hex Wraith. And in close combat, he kills 3 Blood Knights. He declares a challenge, and I accept it with my Blood Knight champion, not my BSB. Kills 3 Blood Knights. I killed a bunch of his, and I couldn't remember exactly how many, and I don't have a picture of it, but I break him and fail to catch him. And you'll see in a second. See, I don't have a good picture of the amount of losses here, but my Hex Wraiths were 1 inch behind him. He rolled, I think, an 11 or 12 to get away, and I was 10 or 11, whatever it is. So my Hex Wraiths are 1 inch behind him. My Blood Knights couldn't catch him either, even though they're cavalry. And then we go to his turn. He charges in the flank of my skeletons there. He charges his chariot into my Necromancer, and that's just going to blow him right up. And the problem here is I didn't roll very high to get away with the Blood Knights, so I'm sure you can see that line there where the chariot's just going to overrun, and if it gets a decent roll, is going to hit my Blood Knights, and that sucks. My Lord was able to get 2 wounds on him, break him, but I wasn't able to catch him, and if he doesn't rally, he's going to go right off the board. And I'm kind of out of danger, I think. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm kind of, my Lord's far away, but at this point it doesn't really matter that much. Okay, so this is the picture for Chaos turn 5. I copied this picture earlier to show what had happened after the battle, because like I said, I didn't have a good picture. But he goes into the flank, and then he goes into my Necromancer. He does rally as chosen at the bottom there. That's okay. And his chariot rallies as well, I believe. No, he doesn't. His chariot goes off the board. I don't have an arrow for it, but his chariot's gone. So that's pretty nice. In no magic, his shooting doesn't do anything. In close combat, he kills a Necromancer and, just overruns. He gets I think it was a 7 on Swift Stride, right? So he gets right in, and that's going to be, if I can survive the impact hits, which is only strength 5, and I have 2 up armors, then I might be able to kill him. But again, those guys are only strength 5 because I'm not getting the charge off. Oh, it sucks. But this is on his turn. So yeah, we'll be fighting on mine. Vampire counts turn 6 with his guy off the board. I just move my Vampire way the hell away from that Skull Cannon. If he fails or if he wants to charge, he's not going to get in, and I'm just running, basically. I charge his chosen with my... they have rallied. We just didn't turn them around. In fact, we had to go back and undo some of this because we had forgotten about the fact that my guys caused terror. So this is a picture after we went back and redid it. he fails his terror check as my guys come in, and I push him right off the board. And so my guys are just basically going to be stranded there. They've got the points for the Chosen. The BSB had already died from breaking, and now his Chosen off the board, and these guys are kind of out of it. He kills a hell of a lot of my skeletons, more than I thought, and so now at this point I'm like, oh yeah, he's definitely going to have him killed by the end of the game, but that's okay, because, I mean, it's a lot of points in core, but I can't do much about it anyway. He does 1 wound to me. I think maybe with impact hits, I do 1 to him, and I'm able just to turn and face him. And I think I crumbled, but mitigated it. Maybe charge flank, I do a wound to him. Maybe he didn't do a wound to me. I might have just crumbled that wound, and then mitigated 1 of them from the BSB. I can't remember how it works. I'm not good at math. Then on my turn, he chops up the rest of the skeletons, this is on his turn. So yeah, he's definitely going to have the points for the end of the game. Chaos turn, I guess that was on my turn. That was on my turn. Chaos turn 6, he takes aim at my Vampire Lord. It drifts 2 inches, so he's not under the center, which is good, because I failed my ward save and only took 1 wound, and that could have been the game. I don't have a picture for it, but down below, I am able to kill his chariot, so I get all the points. And by the end of the game, because I have my Lord on the board who has all the points for the zombie dragon, I've got he wasn't able to finish off the last Blood Knight. He was directing all his attacks at the last Blood Knight, so he'd get the points for the unit, and not the BSB. He wasn't able to finish him off. I had the points there, so by the end of the game, I still had about 1,500 points on the board. Believe it or not, even after losing all the skeletons, I think it was like 1,480, and that was a clear massacre for the vampires, and that was just because the right characters were around. If any of that had changed at the end of the game, it would have been really close, just based on points left. But yeah, that was the game, and it was a fun one. It was nice to be able to play with the zombie dragon, at least for 1 turn, and it was fun to see the Daemon Prince, but I'm loving these Hex Race, man. It's hard to get them to work. You have to have one of the lists that's going to, run up and be able to support them with a March bubble, but it's pretty fun. It does mean your core is slow and really sucks, and you can't, unless you're fine with sitting back and letting them go first and putting them in combat first, and getting shot the whole time, then they're just going to be slow. And I don't like doing that. Like, there's no army that just lets me basically keep my dragon and keep my cavalry behind my chaff and let them march up first. I've got to be racing up to deal with the threats. And so, I mean, like I said, he only had 1 hell cannon here, but he was able to take out the zombie dragon, like, right away. And then it was immediately a big threat on the Terrorgeist. So, yeah, it's one of the things I don't really think VC need core, that's Cav, but I wish we could march with our core. I wish we had some way to make them more and more viable. Not even just in combat, but just if you're going to run like a list of cavalry and your main general and other guys are going to be off running around, I wish you had a way to make your core meaningful, because they're just slogging around. Like, I'm always just declaring charges with zombies and skeletons because they're going to fail and just move their march to, their normal movement anyway. It's just kind of a bad mechanic. I hope they address that when the next book or 9th edition comes out. But that's the game. Thanks for watching, everyone.